From small steps to big ideas, language is at the heart of who we are. We talk it through, we hear you out, we write the words, we read out loud. It's finding the way, exploring new places, discovering new people, and making the difference. It's stories to hear, tales to tell, opening doors and opening minds. Don't just write, communicate. Don't just talk, discuss, debate. Announce yourself, make a noise, speak your mind, and prove your skills to the world. So spread your wings, expand your horizons. It's a big world out there, and this is your journey. With us, you'll be inspired, you'll be supported, you'll be your best. This is more than learning English. These are your hopes and dreams. We are Cambridge Assessment English, and we're here for every learner, every step of the way.
During the presentation today, you will be hearing about the Common European Framework, or CEFR. If you look at the IELTS exams, or you look at any of the other exams that are used for language standardization, they're all based on the IELTS, on the CEFR. Even the IELTS use this IELTS score, which is based on CEFR. So just for your understanding, I'm going to play a video on CEFR, Common European Framework of Reference.
As a language learner or teacher, you may have heard of Common European Framework of Reference, or CEFR. But what is it, and why does it matter for English language learners? It's actually pretty simple. Different learners have different levels of language ability, but opinions about your English level can be subjective. Your friends may think your English is good, but an employer might think it is not good enough, and you may be better at some skills than others. For example, you may be able to read better than you can speak. We need a clear, objective way to describe language skills that everyone can agree on. This is what the CEFR provides. The CEFR breaks down language learning into 6 levels, which it calls A1 to C2. The starting point, A1, describes a very basic language level. As a learner, you can move up the levels until you reach proficiency, C2 level. This is a really advanced level. By describing what you can do in reading, writing, speaking and listening, the CEFR will tell you where you are on the journey from beginner, A1, through to proficiency, C2. There are many Cambridge English exams available for different ages and stages of learning, all matched to CEFR levels, from young learners through to university and the workplace, or simply for travel. The CEFR was developed by the Council of Europe with extensive support from University of Cambridge ESOL examinations. People from all over the world use the CEFR to explain what level of English they are at and what level of English they need. It is used by learners, teachers, universities, governments and employers. The CEFR has been very influential, and not only in Europe. It's been published in more than 35 languages, and descriptions of individual languages have also been developed. Cambridge is a partner in the English Profile programme, which provides very useful descriptions of English grammar and vocabulary at each level of the CEFR. Understanding your language level will help you to achieve your goal, whether it's going on holiday abroad, studying at school or university, or getting a job. And that's why the CEFR levels are useful for everyone.
Good morning, ma'am. Welcome, Mansi, ma'am.
Good morning.
We're happy to welcome Mansi, ma'am, to the webinar room today. Mansi, ma'am represents Gujarat's government, the SCOPE project under the Ministry of Higher Education in Gujarat. She is the joint CEO. She's been almost present every day for the last 2 days, and and she's been leading on this program from the Scope side. Very nice to see you early and up on a Saturday, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Joshua.
Oh,
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
We have Director Higher Education, Shri M. Nagarajan, sir. I welcome you, sir.
Namaskar, sir.
Thank you, Namaskar.
We are happy to have Ms. Nagarajan also with us. Thank you very much, sir, for coming online today.
I welcome Director Higher Education, Shri M. Nagarajan, sir, here today on this third day of webinar series done by Scope and Cambridge English. So I welcome Shri Nagarajan, sir, and kindly suggest some points for our students, some advice to our students.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here because this is a very innovative kind of activity that Scope has recently started for the benefit of students. And we also have the support of Cambridge Assessment English, who have extended very warm gesture of providing the esteemed speakers and also giving us inputs on conducting this session and also for holding this platform. I wish that students will take full advantage of these sessions because we are continuously organizing for you, and I'm glad that we are having more than 1,500, 2,000 participants every day in these sessions, and that shows that how people are finding it useful. And we are having very knowledgeable and experienced speakers who are supporting us in this initiative, and I'm sure that their experience and knowledge will help our students. So, my dear students, when we talk about English, we always fear that whether we will be able to talk in English or understand English. But the best part is that we can try and there is no need to worry about it. We should not aim for perfection. We should aim for improvement. We should aim for knowing more. And since it is not a course you are doing, you are not being evaluated, there is no mark being given. Your only benchmark is yourself. आप खुद से ही competition कीजिए so that आप उसको improvement कर सकते हैं. कि मुझे आशा है कि आज की जो सेशन है, अभी आपका जो नॉलेज और इंटरेस्ट और सेशन के बाद जो है, दोनों में काफी बड़ा फर्क रहेगा. I am sure that you are going to get immensely benefited by this session, and this is a journey. It will not going to end with one session. It is a journey of many years, and we will continue to improve, and Scope will always be there to support you in this journey of self-development, so that your career is good and you have good command over English and which can empower you. Command over English will make you a global citizen. And there is always room for improvement. Even I am learning every day when I attend these kind of webinars and sessions. I improve my English, I improve my vocabulary, I improve my presentation, I improve my pronunciation and all that. ऐसे ही हम लोग ऐसा नहीं बन जाते हैं कि इंग्लिश बहुत अच्छा आ जाता है, but practice and practice and practice day to day करते करते बहुत ही अच्छा आ जाएगा. And best part is just by learning for few hours, say developing a 1,000, 2,000 word vocabulary, we can dramatically improve our English skills, which can help us in doing our jobs better. So I wish that we keep doing more programs. Please send your feedback on the link that we have shared and also on our Facebook page. We are looking forward to your suggestions, and you can also attend the CEPT exam and Lingua Skills exam, which are internationally certified by Cambridge Assessment English. We will help you in organizing classes and also attending the exam and getting a certificate which is having international validity. So with this, I wish all the best for Scope and Cambridge Assessment English and this program, and I request all the students to pay attention in this session and also give us your feedback so that we can help you much better manner to empower your English, empower you through learning English. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for such a beautiful, good advice to our students that will definitely benefit our students, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Joshua, shall we start our session today?
Yes. So
Yeah.
today's session is going to be on email writing.
Yes.
And I think this is a very important skill for students as they as they move from college to a work environment. Because today everything is gone everything is online. There's no letter writing, it's email writing. So I'm going to switch over to Ian's presentation. So we will move into Ian's presentation. At the end of it, we will be back. Mansi ma'am and I will be back. We will be answering your questions.
So, hello everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. It's going to be about email etiquette. And just to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Ian Corley, and I am the Global Product Manager for the BEC exams based at Cambridge in the UK. And I'm delighted to be here with you today in the first of a series of webinars that we're going to give to help you to improve your communication skills and get ready for work. So, just to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be learning about the different purposes that we have for writing an email. We're going to talk about the ways of writing an effective email. And I'm also going to talk about some of the best practices when we write emails, best practices otherwise known as etiquette. Okay, so let's begin. I'd like you to think for just a few seconds about the kinds of emails that you receive on a day-to-day basis. Think about what some of the features of a reader-friendly email are, and when do you use email in your daily life? Well, whilst you're thinking about that, let me give you some examples. So the kinds of emails that I receive are many and varied, and I'm sure it's the same for you. Some of them are personal, from friends and family. Some are related to my work, so they're business-related emails. I also get some emails which are contain marketing or promotional information. Sometimes there are emails with news in them. And also I get emails from other websites such as LinkedIn. And I'm sure you get a similar amount of emails as well. Thinking about the features of a reader-friendly email, well, the first thing is that they need to have a clear subject line so I can understand what it is that I'm going to be reading about. If the subject line isn't clear or I don't understand what it is, chances are I might not read that email. And also, we need to keep our emails short and concise. Remember that it's an information exchange, and we want to give all the information we can to the person receiving the email in a quick, concise, easily to understand way. So keep them short. Do check your emails before you send them. And remember that careless errors can give a very bad impression of you to the person who's reading it. Let's move on. So here are some examples of the types of emails that you receive. It might be an email to request help from a colleague. It might be an email to complain about a product that you have purchased. And it might be an email asking about a scholarship offered by your institution. We often use emails to inform, inquire, complain, request, clarify, or remind. So you can see here from the three email examples, we had one that was requesting help, another one complaining about a product, and the third one asking about a scholarship. And this is very common when we're writing emails. Let's move on. Now, we're going to play a game together, and this game is called Two Truths and a Lie. And what that means is that I'm going to give you a question with three possible answers, and you have to work out which one of the answers isn't true. Let's do one together and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so the question is, what is the purpose of writing an email? And you can see that we've got three options here. Inform, which means to give information. Interrogate, which means to ask someone detailed questions about their involvement in something. And the third one is to inquire or to ask for information. Well, the lie here is interrogate. Interrogate is quite a strong word, and we wouldn't normally interrogate somebody through an email. It would be something that you would do face to face. An example of an interrogation would be if your boss thinks that you might have been involved in something at work that you shouldn't have been, and he needs to find out whether you were involved or not. He or she would interrogate you, and that isn't something that you would normally do when you were via email. Let's have a look at some more examples. So here we have 3 more phrases: insinuate, influence, and instigate. Let me explain what they mean. So if you insinuate something to someone, you are suggesting that they've been involved in some kind of activity. And when we insinuate, the suggestion is often that they've been involved in something negative. Influence is to try to give your opinion across to somebody else and try to get them to see your point of view and agree. And instigate means to create something new or start something new. So I think you'd agree that the lie here is to insinuate. Insinuate isn't something that you would do via email. If you wanted to do that at all, you would do it in a face-to-face situation. Okay, let's move on. So we've got some more examples here. Instruct, incite, and infuriate. Well, if we instruct, it means that we give instructions, we give information on how to do something. If we incite, it means that you want to get somebody's opinion, you want to influence them in a positive way to do something for you. And infuriate means that you make somebody angry. Well, I think you'd agree that we should try our best not to infuriate anybody at work, and we certainly shouldn't use our emails to infuriate and anger people. Okay, let's move on. So, from the example here, you can see the basic structure of how an email is addressed. And I wanted to look in particular at the 3 boxes that you can see here. We've got to, CC, and BCC. I'm not sure how familiar you are with these phrases, so let's look at them a little bit more closely. So, to is the person that you're writing to. So it could be one or more people that you would like to read the email. And if you've addressed something as to, somebody's in the to box, it means that you want them to do something. There is an action required. CC stands for carbon copy. Carbon copy is an old phrase, and it comes from the days before we used computers, but we use it now to mean that if you want people to be involved in the message, you want them to see the message, but you might not necessarily want them to take any action. It might just be for them to read and as a record. And BCC is an interesting one. BCC stands for blind carbon copy. And the difference between CC and BCC is that with CC, everybody who is copied into the email will be able to see the other people who've been copied in as well. But if you blind carbon copy or BCC somebody into an email, nobody else will be able to see that they have been included. We don't use this very often, but we have to be very careful in the way that we do use it. Because obviously if somebody is being copied into an email but nobody else knows that they're there, there has to be a good reason for why that might be. And a very good reason, as an example, might be that you want to send an email informing lots and lots of different people about something, but you don't necessarily want everybody who the email has been sent to know who else has been included. That might be for data protection purposes. In a case like this, you might decide to use BCC. Let's move on. Now, we've got 3 examples here, but they're not in the correct order. So you can see that we've got to, CC, and BCC here. And I want you to think about which of these definitions goes with which of these, because they've been all jumbled up. So let's have a look. The first one, it says, it is used sparingly. In general, it is best not to use this unless you're very sure of what you're doing. So is that related to CC or BCC? The second statement says, this and the subject line are interrogated. Each individual mentioned in this line is expected to respond. So is that to CC or BCC? And the final statement says, no action or response is expected of individuals mentioned in this line. The recipient only needs to read or file the message. Okay, so you've had a look at the definitions. Now let's look at the correct answers. So you can see that to, the definition is, this is the subject. This and the subject line are interrogated. Each individual mentioned in this line is expected to respond. And that's right. That's just what I said at the beginning. So if you address the email to somebody in to, the message is for them and they are expected to respond in some way. CC. No action or response is expected of individuals mentioned in this line. The recipient only needs to read or file the message. So if the email is for reference purposes only, you can put that person as a CC. And just to look at the third one, BCC, it is used sparingly. In general, it is best not to use this unless you're very sure of what you're doing. And as I mentioned, there are not many situations when you would ever use BCC. The main one, as I said before, would be when you want to send an email to lots and lots of different people, and you might not want each of these people to see each other's email address for security purposes. Okay, let's move on. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation that the subject line of an email is really important because often the reader will decide whether they're going to read the whole email based on what they see in the subject line. And if you're using software like Outlook, you will see that your emails will have the person who's written the email to you and the subject line. And that's all the information that you get. So you have to decide whether you then want to click on that and open it. So let's have a look at some of these subject lines and decide together whether we think they are good and whether we think this would engage the reader and make them open the message. So the first one, 3 hours left online shopping carnival. Okay. Then we've got FWD, which means forward. So this message has been forwarded twice. Forward, you'll miss. The next one says request for leave. And the final one says need help. Well, I think that first example is a really good one. It tells you exactly what the message is about. We know that there is a shopping carnival, it's online, and we've only got 3 hours left. It tells me what I need to do. It's engaging. That's a good subject line. The second one, forward, you'll miss. This isn't a very good message. It looks like spam to me, and spam are emails that have been created for marketing purposes that often we get rid of. You can see that it's been forwarded to me twice, which means that somebody found it interesting, gave it to somebody else. They thought that I might be interested. So it's not directed specifically at me. And also, what will I miss? Doesn't give me any more information. So we'd get rid of that one. It's a bad example. Request for leave. That's a good subject line. It tells me exactly why I am writing to the person I'm writing to. I would like to take some time off work. And the next one, need help. Well, what kind of help does this person need? And why are they writing to me? It might put me off receiving an email like that. Might make me suspicious. And I would suggest that if you do need somebody's help, it's much better to pick up the telephone and contact them that way, or if they're in the office, go round and see them, rather than writing an email subject such as that. Let's have a look at some more examples. Why don't you read emails? Hi, how are you? 10 best companies to work for. How to negotiate a better salary. And I got it, a degree. Okay, well, again, I don't think this first one, why don't you read emails, is a very good example at all. That could make the person angry who receives this. We certainly don't want to do that. We don't want to infuriate them. So that's not a good example. Hi, how are you? Well, I think that works quite well for a personal email. If you receive this from one of your friends, I think that would be fine. But it's not something that you would use in a business setting. It's too informal, and I don't understand exactly what it is that the person wants from me. So I wouldn't use that for a business email. 10 of the best companies to work for. This is a good subject line. It tells me what the email is going to be about, and it's interesting. How to negotiate a better salary. That's also a good subject line. It tells me what the email is about, and it might be interesting. I got it, a degree. Well, this is a very poor subject line. What does it mean? And as you can see, the punctuation is wrong here. Why have we got a capital A there? Does it mean that I got a grade A, or does it mean that I got a degree? Remember what I said at the beginning. If you make errors in your emails with spelling or grammar, it gives the reader a very bad impression of you. It's always really important that you check through your emails before you send them. Okay, let's move on. So, just to reiterate again what we've said regarding the subject line of emails. So the subject line should effectively summarize the message. So remember, people will read your subject line and then decide whether they want to read your email or not. So you should summarize in there exactly what it is that you want to say. It gives a glimpse of your email. It gives them an idea of what it is. It can also highlight the importance of what you want to say. So if you need information urgently, you want it on a specific date, or if you want it on a specific topic, then you can put that into your subject line. And you can use function words to show what it is you would like the other person to do. So request or reply or make an application. But again, you shouldn't make your subject lines too long. They should be short and effective, giving just enough information required to engage the reader and make them want to go on to read your full email. Okay, so we've spent a little bit of time looking at the purposes of emails, and we've spent some time looking at why the subject line is so important. But let's go on to look at some more details now. I'm often asked about which is the best salutation or greeting to use when writing emails, and I've got some good examples here. So we've got, hi, Mr. Jenkins, hi, sir or madam, hi, chairman, hi, John, or just hi. Think for a few seconds on whether you think all of these are okay to use as a salutation, or whether you think some of them shouldn't be used. Okay, let's look together. I would suggest that hi, Mr. Jenkins isn't a very good way of starting an email. If we've got the name of the person, Mr. Jenkins, but we don't have his first name, I would suggest that perhaps we haven't met Mr. Jenkins before, or if we have, it was in quite a formal setting. Therefore, we shouldn't start with hi. We should say, dear Mr. Jenkins. That would be much more formal and much more polite. Same goes for the second salutation here. We wouldn't say, hi, sir or madam. We don't even know this person's name. So in a way, our salutations should be a little bit more formal than Mr. Jenkins. So we should say, dear sir or madam here. The same goes for the third one. Hi, chairman. Chairman is a very senior role within an organization. I don't think we would start the message with hi. We should say, dear chairman, or dear Mrs. or Mr. Chairman. Hi, John is fine because we have the person's first name. The suggestion here is that we know who John is, and therefore it's okay for us to write "Hi John" in both a formal or an informal setting. The final one, just "hi" on its own with an exclamation mark, certainly shouldn't be used in a formal setting. It might be okay when you're writing to your friends, but I wouldn't use this one at all in a work environment. It's always better to use somebody's name, or if you don't have their name, to use sir or madam. Let's have a look at some more examples now. So we've got "Hello, Mr. Jenkins," "Hello, John," and "Hello." So we said on the previous slide that "Hi, Mr. Jenkins" was not really acceptable. "Hello, Mr. Jenkins" is certainly more polite and could be used in some situations. For example, if you have met Mr. Jenkins and you have referred to him as Mr. Jenkins, it would then be okay to write back to him and say, "Hello, Mr. Jenkins." That would be okay. In the second example, "Hello, John" is fine in a semi-formal setting. The suggestion is here that we know John, and I think "Hello, John" would be acceptable. The third one, "Hello," is like "Hi" on the previous slide. It would be okay for you to use in a private or personal email to a friend of yours, but it isn't something that you should use in a business setting. Okay. So let's have a look here. It says, "Dear unknown, I'm writing to request some details about." Well, the suggestion here is that we don't know who the person is, but we want to write a formal email to them. So let's have a look at some of the ways that we could do this. If you do not know the person that you are writing to, if you do not have a name, then it's always best to start your email with "Dear Sir" or "Madam." However, if you do know the person's name, then it would be quite impolite for you to say "Dear Sir" or "Madam." So using the example of Mr. Jenkins, if we have his name, we would say "Dear Mr. Jenkins." If we don't have his name, then it would be, and in fact, if we don't know whether he is male or female, then it's much better to say "Dear Sir" or "Madam, I am writing to request some details about." Okay, let's have a look at this second example. Now here it says, "Dear Mrs. Maria, we have received your letter of complaint." This is an interesting one because you can see that we have the name of the person, Maria, but we also know that Maria is the first name. We can suggest here that if we know Maria, then we shouldn't include the word Mrs. We should say, "Dear Maria, we have received your letter of complaint." If we didn't have the lady's first name, if we only had their surname, then of course we would say "Dear Mrs." and then the lady's surname. Again, if we didn't know the lady's name at all, we could say "Dear Madam." And if we didn't know whether the person we were writing to was male or female, we would say "Dear Sir" or "Madam." But in this case, we have the lady's first name, so we would say "Dear Maria, we have received your letter of complaint." Let's have a look at some more. Okay, so here we have one. It says, "Dear Ms. Ravelli, we have received your letter of complaint." So interesting how we have used the phrase "ms" here. Let me explain. When we refer to a man, we always use the phrase "Mr." And "Mr" could refer to a man who is married, or it could refer to a man who is unmarried. We don't know, but we use "Mr." in both cases. However, with females, there are a number of different options. We have Miss, Mrs, and Ms. Mrs is the easiest one to explain. We normally refer to a married lady as Mrs, and it's a very polite term. If it's a young lady and the suggestion is that that lady is unmarried, it might be okay to use the phrase miss. But I would suggest in all cases, it's better to use Ms. And Ms is very much like Mr. When we use Ms and a lady's surname, the suggestion is that we do not know whether she is married or single in the same way as Mr. And so Ms is the most respectful way to address that person. So in this case, we know that the lady is female, but we don't know if she's married or not. It's a formal email, and so we use the phrase Ms, dear Ms Ravelli. Okay, it's an important one for you to remember. Let's move on. Now, this is an interesting one that I see many times. Dear sir or ma'am, please find attached my assignment. Okay. There is never a situation in formal language where it's okay for you to use the phrase ma'am. Okay. You should always use the phrase madam. It's a common error when people make when they're addressing people, and I shall urge you, please don't use the phrase ma'am. Always refer to madam. Okay. Something to bear in mind. Now, how about if you are writing emails to groups of people? This is quite interesting. So we said that you've got the address line and the to line where you put people's addresses, and you've also got the CC, the carbon copy line there. You might be writing to a group of people. So how do we do that? Well, we've got dear all, dear team members, dear event managers, and dear faculty members. These are all perfectly acceptable. We're using dear, so we're being quite formal. And then it depends really on who we're writing to. We wouldn't put lots of names, so we use dear all. If you're writing to two people, you might say dear John and Sarah. But if you're writing to a group, you wouldn't put their names in. You would just say dear all. If you're writing to a specific team, then we would put team members. And those team members would know who they are because they're all grouped together in the address line, so they know which team they're a member. But you might want to give more details of which team it is specifically, or perhaps you've put that in the subject line. Same with the next one. Dear event managers. It's a group of people and we're addressing them by their group name. And the same with the final one. Dear faculty members. This email is going to be written to all the members of the faculty, and therefore it's fine to use dear in that formal setting. Okay, let's move on. So this is a really nice little graph here, graphical representation here that you can use when we don't know who the person we are writing to is. So you can see right in the middle of the target, we've got who. Who is the person that we're writing to? And then we've got why. Why should this person read the email that I'm constructing for them? And then we've got how. How did I come into contact with this person? How do I know them? And finally, what? What do you expect from this person? What do you expect from him or her? So this is all the information that you would provide when you were writing a correspondence to somebody for the first time and you don't know who that person is. So again, who are you? How did you learn of the person that you're writing to? What do you expect him or her to do as a result of the email that they're receiving from you? And why should your correspondent pay attention to the email that you're writing? Okay, let's look at that in a bit more detail. So here's a good example. Dear Madam, I am a newspaper columnist with the New Times. I attended the International Journalists Conference with your brother last month, and he mentioned that you were interested in writing for our newspaper too. Please send some samples of your writing. So we can see here that this is a very clearly written email. It's nice and short, and it gives us all the information. So it tells the recipient who I am. I'm a newspaper columnist at the New Times. It also tells me how I came into contact with this person. I attended the International Journalist Conference with your brother last month. And then it also tells us why we're writing to this person. He mentioned that you were interested in writing for our newspaper. And then finally, we've got the action that we'd like the person to do as a result. Please send some samples of your writing. So you can see that we've managed to get our message across in a very succinct way. We've only used a few sentences, only a few lines of text, but it's clear exactly why I'm writing and what I would like the other person to do. Let's look at that in a flowchart. So the action was, please provide the detailed report by the end of the day. And the response would be, please confirm your participation at the latest by. If you want somebody to study, you could say, please read the report before the next meeting. Or if you want to get some information for your information only, you could write, the minutes of the meeting are attached for your reference. So these are all really good phrases that you can use to get your message across, depending on what it is exactly that you'd like to say. And let's have a look at some examples now together. So here we are. We've got an email from FedEx, and the subject line says, FedEx being online, ready for payment. So hello, you have a new outstanding invoice from FedEx that is ready for payment. The following invoices are prepared for you. And you've got an invoice number, and it says to pay or review these invoices, please sign into your FedEx Billing Online account by clicking on this link. Okay, well, there's certainly some action required here because there is a bill ready for me to pay. And you can see that we have a very clear subject line. It's interesting that I mentioned that you shouldn't start your emails with hello, but FedEx have. That would suggest to me that this email has been created by a bot and they have put this salutation in instead of putting in the person's name. So this type of email, which is computer generated, they have used hello, but as I suggested to you, when you write emails, I wouldn't start your emails like that. But this is a clear email with a call to action. Let's have a look at some more examples. Okay, so this is the same email that you saw earlier. I'm a newspaper columnist with the New Times. I attended the International Journalist Conference with your brother last month, and he mentioned that you were interested in writing for our newspaper too. Please send some samples of your writing. So this is asking for a response. Okay, I want them to send me some samples. I want them to respond to the email and to give me some of the samples. Let's move on. Okay, now let's have a look at this statement, and I want you to think about whether you think this is good use of English or not. It says, I spoke to them about the case. They said that they wanted to see it because it is difficult to understand the quality. Now, I would suggest that this email is not easy to understand. It's not a good example of a well-written email. And the problem here, as I'm sure you've picked up, is that they're using too many pronouns. I spoke to them. Well, who are they? They said that they wanted to see it. Well, who wanted to see it? And what's it? It's a very poorly written email. And so think carefully about your message, think carefully about the grammar that you use. And as I said at the beginning, make sure that you always check your emails thoroughly to make sure that there aren't any grammatical errors. If I received an email like this, potentially I would just delete it and I wouldn't even respond, questioning them on why they are asking me for this very jumbled piece of information. Okay. Let's have a look at another example. Okay, so let's have a look at this. It says, "Dear madman or sir, please take the time out to read this email. I know you will love it. It has several examples of what is not good email etiquette." Lots of people make these mistakes. When you're finished with it, pass it along to 30 other people and then read the tips below on what is good email etiquette. Well, as you can imagine, there are lots and lots of mistakes here. The first mistake, and it's something that can happen quite often, is that this email has been written in capital letters. Now, if you're like me, I've got quite big hands, and often when I write quickly, it's easy for me to hit other keys when I'm writing. And quite often, I do hit the caps lock on my keyboard. And then when I look up to see the email, I've written lots of words in capital letters. It's a very, very bad idea. You must never do that. And one of the main reasons is that when you write using capital letters, you appear very angry. You appear as if your message is being shouted at the person who's receiving it. And you don't want to give that impression. You don't want to make people upset or angry or to give them a negative impression of you. So it's really important that you don't use capital letters in your emails because it makes you appear aggressive. There are lots of other mistakes here. You can see that there are some spelling mistakes. Well, first of all, we say dear sir or madam. We don't say dear madam or sir. And even if we were to say that, we wouldn't spell madam as madman. Very bad use of English. Some other things here. Instead of using the word please, they've used the abbreviation PLZ. Now, that might be fine when you're sending a text message or a WhatsApp message or you're in a chat room, but you certainly wouldn't use that in a formal email. You can see that they've done that with the word you. They've used the letter U, and instead of the word love, they've just spelt it L-U-V. Again, don't ever do this. It looks really bad. It's a poor use of English. It's fine for personal text messaging and chatting, but not in emails. Also, some of the punctuation here, the use of exclamation marks to be avoided, and also the use of symbols like the smiley face. That could be absolutely fine if you're writing to a friend or a colleague that you know well, but you wouldn't do it in a formal setting. And then again, this piece of information at the bottom, when you're finished with it, pass it along to 30 other people. Well, again, that suggests that the message wasn't very important when it was sent to me because they want me to pass it on to other people. So that's not a very good example. And then finally, they haven't put anything in the subject line at all. So we don't know what the email is about, and we probably have to read through this really poorly constructed email before we found out. So a really bad example. Please don't do that. Okay. So we've looked at the subject line of an email. We've spent a little bit of time looking at how you begin an email, the salutations. We've looked a little bit at the reasons why you write an email and how you should structure it. And then let's go on now to have a look at the ends of emails. So you can see here that we've got 3 phrases that you can use just to finish off your email. I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon. Please feel free to contact me for any clarification, and hope to hear from you soon. Okay, these are all really nice ways that you can finish a formal or semi-formal email. It signals to the reader that you finished what you want to say and that you are doing so in a polite way. They can be used in any way. You might choose to use one that you use every time you answer, you finish off your email, or you might decide to choose one of these phrases at will. But they can all be used, and they're really nice, polite, and can be used with both formal and informal emails. I should mention as well that for those of you who are preparing to take the BEC exams or thinking about taking the BEC exams, in the writing exam, you are asked to write formal emails. And on screen is a great example of the type of question that you would be asked in the BEC Vantage exam. So you know that the BEC exam is a very communicative exam. It helps you to improve your business communication skills, get ready for the world of work, to help you to feel confident using your language to communicate in English. And this is a great example of how everything that you've learned in preparing for BEC is used when you come to take the exam. And you can put into practice the things that I've told you so far. So after you've finished your email and you've put that nice statement, you know, I look forward to hearing from you soon. Please feel free to contact me. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Finally, we would sign off with our name. And there are different ways that you can do this. The most common ways are to say, for example, warm regards, kind regards, or best wishes, and then you would give your name. So, for example, you could say, I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon. Kind regards, Ian. Or you could say, please feel free to contact me for any clarification. Best wishes, Ian. In a more formal situation, you can use yours sincerely and yours faithfully. And just like when we're writing letters, there are key reasons why we would choose to use sincerely or faithfully. And the rule is like this. If you start the email with dear sir or madam, you should always end the email with yours faithfully. It's easy to remember this. Just remember that you shouldn't have an S in the salutation and an S in the sign-off. So if you say dear sir, don't use yours sincerely. You should always use yours faithfully. So if it's dear sir or madam, always end with yours faithfully. If you start with dear Mr. Jenkins or dear Mrs. Smith, then you should answer with yours sincerely. So if you have the name of the person, Mr. Smith or Mrs. Elliott, then you can end with yours sincerely. If you don't have their name and you're going to start your email with sir or madam, then you should end with yours faithfully. It's really important that you remember this because the reader will pick up straight away if you haven't understood the right format of how you should write. So again, you shouldn't have sir and sincerely. It should always be dear sir or madam, yours faithfully, or dear Mr. Smith or Mrs. Elliott, and yours sincerely. But in all the other cases, and in fact in most cases when we write emails these days, it's absolutely fine to say warm or kind regards or best wishes. Okay. Now, we're coming towards the end of my presentation today, so I'd just like to go through some statements and we can decide together whether these statements are true or false. So let's have a look at them again. It says, subject lines should be short and should summarize the content. That's absolutely true. Remember what we said at the beginning, that the subject line should be engaging, should be interesting, and should give a very short summary of what the email you're writing contains. The next one, to, CC, and BCC. And BCC should be used sparingly. Again, that's absolutely right. So remember, to, you put in the address of the person or people that you would like to read the email and take action, okay? CC, or carbon copy, means that you would like people to receive the email and read it as a reference, but they are not required to do any action. And BCC, or blind carbon copy, should be used very sparingly, because we only use this when we don't want the recipients to know who else has received the email. And the very best example I can give of this is if you have a long mailing list and you don't want all the people receiving the email to know the names or addresses of the other people who've received it as well. Okay, and the third one, salutations, hi and hello, can be used in semi-formal emails. And that's absolutely right. So remember that we said that you can use hi or hello with somebody's first name, hi John, hello Mary, or it might even be that you could use hello with somebody's surname, hello Mr. Jenkins, if you've met the person and during that meeting they were referred to in the formal way, Mr. or Mrs. Let's have a look at some more. Okay, so it says the salutation, hi Chairman, is an appropriate greeting. No, absolutely not. Please don't ever use that. You could write Dear Chairman. Okay, that's the appropriate use there. Content. The content should be concise and should highlight the purpose clearly. Absolutely right. Emails need to be clear, concise, and therefore they'll generally be short. People don't often like to receive a very long email with lots and lots of information. It's much better to summarize what you want to say, and perhaps you could send a link to more information, or you could attach other documents. But the main body of the email should be quite short, because remember, you want people to be able to read it and understand it in a clear and concise way. So that's true. And the third one, number 6, I should say, action expected. The email should specify what action is expected of the recipient. Absolutely right. The email might be just to inform, but it might also need them to respond or to take action in some way. And if that's the case, you need to make that clear in the body of the email when you're writing it. Okay. Content. Writing the entire email in capital letters or uppercase is acceptable. Absolutely not. Remember what I said, that if you write using capital letters, quite often the person reading it will think that you are angry with them and you're writing in an aggressive way. So please don't use capital letters. So that one is definitely false. And as an ending, regards is commonly used. Yeah, that's absolutely true. You could say kind regards, or you could just say regards if you wanted. But that's one of the most common ways that we use to finish off the email. Okay. So, got some questions for you to ask yourself now. Do you think the ability to handle email is important in the workplace? And what are the most important skills to be able to handle emails, as well as other kinds of writing in the workplace? Well, I hope that you all believe that the answer to the first question is yes. It is really important to be able to handle emails well in the workplace. Generally, in your working life, you're going to receive lots and lots of emails. I receive hundreds every day. You can't possibly read them all, so you have to decide exactly which ones you're going to read, how you're going to respond to them, how much time you have to respond, what you need to say in your response, who are you writing to. These are all really important factors. Email is still a very important way that we communicate at work, so it is really important that you have the ability to handle it. And thinking about the important skills that you need to handle emails, well, there are lots. Of course, you need to be able to communicate well using the language. That's really important. You need to understand the rules of writing emails, and I hope that I've been able to describe some of those to you today. You need to think about how you can write your message in a clear and concise way, how you can elicit the right response from the person you're writing to. How can you get them to take that action that you want to do? These are all really important skills, and the ability to communicate with confidence in English is something that that you're going to need every day in your working environment, and especially when you're handling writing skills such as writing emails. So, are you equipped with good communication skills? Well, even if you do possess really great communication skills, how are you going to prove this to your employer? It's not enough these days just to say, oh, I'm very good at communicating. Everybody can put that in their covering letter when they apply for a job. Everybody can say that in an interview. But how can you prove it? And even if your communication skills do need improvement, how are you going to go about doing that? Well, it's my suggestion to you that you need to study a business English qualification. And as I mentioned, I'm the global product manager for the Cambridge Assessment English, Business English qualifications, which are a great way that you can boost your confidence.
So Cambridge and the Gujarat government scope, the Society for Creation of Opportunity through Proficiency in English, have signed up to offer Linguist Skill and CEPT for the students of Gujarat. What is Linguist Skill? Linguist Skill is a test that is a modular, which means I'll explain what is modular. It can be taken at your homes, even provided the lockdown situation is there. But if things ease out, you can come to the Scope Center and you can take this test. This test has 3 specific modules. In Gujarat, we are offering the reading and the listening test. We are offering the speaking test. So this is what we call it modular. You can take any one specific skill that you're looking at. You don't have to worry about all the skills. You can just take one skill that is important or what is necessary for your thing. Let's say you're looking at a sales job, or you're looking at how to check your speaking is, then you come do only the speaking. If you're going to be a student who's going to go abroad and study, then you would need reading and listening also, because you have to read a lot of signs. You have to listen to other people talk in English. So you need to work on your reading and listening. So Scope is currently offering the courses for it. This test is a multi-level test. So if you have to do an IELTS or something, before you go for the IELTS, you do a linguist skill to understand your level, and then you can go for an IELTS, because you will know what IELTS score you will get based on this test. This test will give you a simple score around an IELTS score for you, right? It is aligned to the Common European Framework. That's what we said. It is aligned to CEFR. If you can see what I'm highlighting here, this is the IELTS test. So a linguist skill will tell you where you are comparatively around the IELTS score. So if you're doing a linguist skill, it will indicate. If you're a language trainer and you're training people for IELTS, then you would tell them to do a linguist skill before they go for an IELTS, so they understand their exact language level. Yes, this test is valid in over 50 countries. People accept this. People accept this as a proof of language. Why is this test so good, or why? Because it's an advanced computer-based test, meaning, let's say it is an auto marker. I will explain those two in the coming slides. It's one of the latest technology-driven tests. You can expect that coming from Gujarat government and from the University of Cambridge. The speaking test is like in your earlier part we were talking about. The speaking test is marked, and the candidate, it is online. You don't have to go anywhere. You just need a headphone and this. In the Scope Center, it will get recorded on the Cambridge server, and the results will be declared to you within 48 hours. The results are 48 hours for a speaking test, instant for a LR, the listening and reading test, and the writing test takes about 4 hours. This is where the test looks like. The government will give you, the Scope team will give you an entry code. Enter the code into the website, and you are on to the center to do the exam. This is how your certificate will look like. It will show you what is your skill, what is your achievement. In this case, this person has got almost a B1, so there's a graphic and a thing, and it also gives you descriptions of what a B1 person can do. This is for a group. So this is very valid because this test can be checked by the body that is taking you over. This is what I was talking about, adaptive testing. So the test starts at a very easy level. As the student starts answering the questions, this test level becomes difficult. If his answers are right, it starts going up. It's adapting to the learner. And if he answers wrong, it again becomes easier, then it goes back up. So it keeps moving. It judges your exact level. It is precisely required at your level. It is not something, there's a set question paper that comes out with. It's a computer-based test, so it's adaptive, and it uses computer technology to give you the best. Some of the companies that actually accept this test, and that is something that is very useful. There are so many organizations across the world. You can see there are higher education institutions, corporates, and governments that are currently accepting this certification. The Air France, which is one of the bodies that we will do this as the last video, but Air France is one of the bodies that actually accept this for internal training and for recruitment. So if you want to join Air France, for example, you would be required to take a linguist skill test. Just the last slide, I think, is your contact information for Scope, where you can reach out to Scope at these numbers or this email ID. The feedback link, I'm putting it up.
I hope, student, you like the session very much. We get so many information and tips from Jan, and we see when we are using language in campus, we can't use such language in our email. Like in professional and corporate world, you have to be very precise and you have to follow certain protocols. So it is called email etiquette. So we learned a lot from Jan, and different parts of email we learned: sender, receiver, salutation, email body, attachment, signature, etc. And some points we received, we learned from Jan that we should avoid capital letters in our emails, and we should avoid using short forms or abbreviations. But some abbreviations are acceptable, like PFA, please find attached; PFB, please find below; FYI, for your information. Such abbreviations you can use, but not like WhatsApp, hey. Such kind of phrases should be avoided in writing email. And whenever you write, whenever you are sending your email, just go through it and then send it. Verify the grammar and the language you are using. And one more thing, one important thing: never send an angry email or give a quick flip response. Give your thoughtful consideration before sending it. If it is like that, you can save it in your draft folder and review it again. And later, when you are calmer, have some time to formulate an appropriate response. So these are some points that should be kept in mind while writing an email.
Ma'am, there are a lot of questions coming up again about the linguist skill test. People are asking about when the linguist skill test will happen. They are asking where they can do the exam, and they're asking about what is the test fee, whether there is a test fee or it's a free test. It's not a free test, I can tell you that much. There will be a very small charge, because nothing that is free is valuable. You know, things that are coming free are never valued. So I think there will be a small charge. But ma'am, I think the best thing is, ma'am, could you take that question, please, ma'am?
Yes, the fee structure for lingua skill training plus examination is 2,700. That is, training will be of 20 hours. CPT training plus exam will be 1150, and 16 hours training program is there. If you want to check your proficiency level first, and then you want to go through the training, then you have to go for CEPT examination first. Then you go for lingua skill training and then lingua skill examination. That will cost 3,150 rupees, and training hours will be 20. So, and further information you can have from Scope website. We have shared our phone number, we have shared our email ID, and even link. We can have your email IDs. So we will share the details to you, and do join our program. It is very much helpful to you, as Joshua has shared earlier, that it is acceptable in various universities and various countries. So it is a very prestigious examination, and you can enhance your English. By after the training, you will come to know that where you were and now where you are. So it will make a difference in you, and it is the initiative by government. So it is in very less amount is there, very fees are very low in comparison to the market price.
Market price, yes.
So yeah, it is very less. Government is there to support you. So do join Scope, and do join our examination. It will be really helpful to you. It will improve your proficiency in English. And any questions or any doubts, you can email us query.scopeguj@gmail.com, and our phone number is also there. You can contact us. We will give you all the information.
Yeah, there's also a QR code scanner that you can scan right away. It's on your screens.
Yes.
I mean, those of you who are more technology savvy than us can really just scan that and go there to that point. Okay.
Yes.
Somebody's asking between CC and BCC. I will just again try to go over what is CC. If I'm writing
Carbon copy.
Yes,
Yeah.
carbon copy and blind
This
carbon
copy and BCC is blind carbon copy. Some people say it is a blind courtesy copy also nowadays, because when you want to say you want to avoid certainly I feel that blind carbon copy should not be used. We should not use it in our profession, because we have to be open for our communication. We can use courtesy copy, the person who needs to be informed, like your senior. For them, you can use CC, that is courtesy copy or carbon copy, you may say. So this is the difference between CC and BCC.
Yes, ma'am. Precisely. CC is the real. If I'm writing a mail to my boss, I will put my boss on 2. The person who is receiving will be 2. But somebody who wants to share that information with, if I'm writing to a client, I would normally put a client on 2, and I would put my boss on carbon copy, because my boss would know what I'm doing. So for my boss to know, I would write to Mansi ma'am, I'll put Mansi ma'am on 2, I'll put my boss on CC, because my boss will also know what I have spoken to Mansi ma'am. So we're all on the same loop. That's basically the idea between CC and BCC is blind carbon copy. Nobody will know whom it is going to. We normally use it only when we are sending a bulk mail. When we don't want people around us to know whom the mail is going to, then we put BCC there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of equipment. I mean, there is an app called the Beck app that you can download, the Cambridge Beck app that you can download and use. Which you can download and use to learn English. Cambridge also has some software called Write and Improve, Speak and Improve, which are both where they teach you how to write. So you've done a Write and Improve. I mean, you've done a writing, email writing today. So if you want to improve, just go there and work on Write and Improve. Somebody's asking, will it help me with my TOEFL? Yes, Priyansh, it will help you with your TOEFL, because all TOEFL, IELTS are all English language-based tests. So it will really help you with improving, getting a better score at TOEFL.
Yeah, one Abhishek is there. He's asking what should be the length of the your email. It should be precise. It is not what you say, but it is how you say it, right? So your subject line should be very crisp and precise. Even the body of the mail should be to the point. It should be not too large that the receiver find it very hard to. They don't have such time to read long emails. So it should be crisp, precise, and the subject should be also crisp and precise, which shows the body of the mail, right?
Yeah, right. It should be crisp, because see, I would always say, look at yourself. How would you read an email? Would you open an email and see it like it's 1 page or 2 pages long and read it? Or even a WhatsApp message. If it's more than your screen size, would you read it? You would not. Then you wouldn't expect anybody else to read it. I wouldn't expect it. If I wouldn't read it, I wouldn't expect my brother or anybody in my customers to read it. So it's basically how you look at it. Keep it short, keep it crisp. Anything that's crisp is interesting.
Yes.
The fees have been already discussed, Mr. Dubey. We will again put it up. You can call the link or you can email Scope and they will be able to get back to you on it. Sanpreet is asking, ma'am, as I want to go abroad, and will it help me with going abroad? So Mr. Sanpreet Singh, I think it will help you in preparing for IELTS, which would be required when you're going abroad. In certain countries, as I displayed on the screen, it is accepted. The linguist skill is accepted. For example, I know there's a university in Japan that is accepting linguist skill. There's somebody in Spain that's accepting. So it depends on what and which university where you're going abroad. Abroad is everywhere. So you can be more specific. Kushal Desai is asking, does watching English movie benefit us in improving our English? It does, Kushal. You can be very sure that it helps you in improving your English because that's one of your input skills. It helps you improve your input skill. You learn a lot of language. See, the reason why we struggle with English is because we don't have vocabulary, or we don't have the language. And the only way we can take the language in is by listening to English from other sources. If you look at how we know our mother tongue, is because everybody around us is speaking the mother tongue. So the mother tongue becomes very, we hear a lot of mother tongue. And that's why there's a lot of mother tongue in our heads. But when we speak about English, there's not a lot of that being heard around us. And that is the only reason why we don't have it when we come out of writing or speaking. So if you want to improve it, just listen more and read more.
Yeah. One student is there, Siddhi is asking 16 hours per day. No, Siddhi, it is not 16 hours per day, but we will divide it 2 hours daily. So within 8 hours, within 8 days, you can complete your training. And then after some time, you will be giving a test of Cambridge. And immediately within 1 or 2 days, 48 hours, you will get the certificate and result. So it is not like that in 16 hours a day. It is distributed and it will be convenient for you to join our training. So 2 hours a day maximum.
There's a lot of thank yous also coming up, ma'am.
Yes.
So
I should thank you, Joshua and Manish, who has prepared such a nice webinar, which will be helpful to our Gujarat students. And Government Gujarat is also trying to support students in this pandemic situation. This webinar is a part of this effort through which you can gain knowledge at your home. So for the success of this webinar, I give credit to our Honorable Principal Secretary, Srimati Anju Sharma Madam, our Director and CEO Scope, Mr. M. Nagarajan Sir, and Cambridge team. And of course, not but last but least, but our students who had made this program webinar very successful, and huge amount of students have participated in this.
We will end our session here. So thank you very much, everyone, for being online. Thank you for your valuable comments. Thank you, the Government of Gujarat. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And have a nice weekend. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.